In this video, we're going to be talking about one of the most fundamental tools in Pixel Creator Pro, and that is the Insert Photo tool and its little baby cousin that is located right next to the Insert Photo tool, which is this little gray box, this little mystery box. And what that is also an Insert Photo tool, but it has its own unique function, which we'll talk about when we go through the different options here with Insert Photo. Now, of course, the whole reason that we get an album design software for Photoshop is to make the design process a lot easier than using the tools that exist in Photoshop. And the Insert Photo tool is the tool in Pixel Creator Pro. It's where it all began, is a function that will allow you to easily create great looking layouts, add your images to them very, very quickly and easily. Now, a lot of effort went into the Insert Photo tool. Like I said, this is really where Pixel Creator Pro began, and there are lots and lots of options that may not be initially apparent when we're talking about the Insert Photo tool. Pixel Creator Pro is one of the only programs, in fact, it's the only program out there in the marketplace that works with Photoshop that literally any layout that exists for Photoshop can be populated with the Insert Photo tool because of the sophistication that's built in to this one function. So let me show you some of the different options. So when we start out with the most basic of basic functions, it's the Insert Photo tool. And all I'm going to do here is simply make a selection, and I'm going to come into Adobe Bridge, grab an image, and hit Insert Photo. And what happens is Pixel Creator Pro, first of all, detects that we have a selection made. So automatically it's going to create a new layer. It's going to create a layer mask based on the selected area that I had selected. It's then going to calculate the size of my selection. It's going to calculate the size of the image that I selected to insert. It then resizes my image to fit the selection, either to the height or width, and then it allows me to reposition the image within the newly created image opening. So a lot of arithmetic, a lot of steps are happening with just one click of the mouse. And so now you can see that, in fact, we've inserted an image. If I make another selection and I select a different image, then instantly that whole process starts over again. And you can see that what Pixel Creator Pro did is it calculated that I had a square selection, created a new image layer with a square layer mask. It then took my image, resized it. In this case, I have a portrait image, and it resized it to the width of my square, so it filled in my entire square. Positions it dead center. It then pauses and allows me to fine-tune the exact positioning of the image within the image opening. Now, any selection can be turned in to an image opening. It's one of the most powerful features. So for example, let's take a look at another example. If I make an oval selection and I select an image here in Adobe Bridge and hit Insert Photo, it will of course insert my image into an oval shape. Pretty straightforward. We'll go ahead and delete this layer. Let's look at another option. I'm going to make an oval shape again, but this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go into quick mask mode here inside Photoshop. I'm going to hit filter. I'm going to hit blur. I'm going to hit Gaussian blur. And let's do about 200 pixels. Click OK. Exit out of quick mask mode by hitting the letter Q on my keyboard and hit Insert Photo again. Now this something totally different is going to happen because we're going to get an oval shape, but it's going to have a nice soft edge effect to that shape. So now my image has a nice soft edge effect. I'm going to come to my background layer, fill it with black, and you can see what an amazingly beautiful effect that has when the background is black. A nice soft edge effect just by making a selection. So it doesn't get much simpler than just making some basic functions like that. So let's go ahead and delete that. So that kind of shows you the basics of that Insert Photo tool. So any selection we make can be made into an image opening. So for example, let's go ahead and make another selection here. So I'm going to go ahead and make a selection. I'm going to hold down my Shift key, make another selection, hold down my Shift key again, and make yet another selection. Okay, so now I have multiple part selection. So again, same image, hit insert photo, and instantly Pixel Creator Pro goes to work. And we'll flip that horizontally. Now let's go ahead and set my background to white so we can see this a little bit better. And you can see now that that image cascades across each part of my selection. And because I had multiple areas selected, it created a layer mask. Let me show you my layer mask. You can see how my layer mask is created. So everywhere that's white is what is visible with our image. So lots of options there just by understanding how to make selections here inside Photoshop. Let me show you another example, a little more advanced example. We're going to make an elliptical selection that is perfectly circular. We're going to subtract from this selection, pick up my space bar, move it around. So now we have a nice little moon shape. So now when I come in here to add an image opening and I hit insert photo, you can see that we have a nice moon-shaped image opening now. So lots and lots of options when we're talking about the insert photo tool simply by making selections. Now there is one additional way to make a selection here inside Photoshop, and that is with the horizontal type mask tool. So we're going to go ahead and just type in the word college, for example. And that makes a selection, and all that is a selection of the word college. And so when I hit insert photo, our texture that we had selected now fills in the word college. So lots of different options just by making different selections here inside Photoshop. So again, any selection can be converted into an image just by hitting insert photo. Now we saw earlier when we were talking about the add aperture tool, likewise, if any selection that we make can be turned into an image opening first, and then we can use the insert photo tool to then insert it. So let's go ahead and make a selection. We'll choose the add aperture tool, and we're going to make another selection, and we're going to choose add aperture, and then we're going to make a rounded rectangle, and we'll talk about some options. Now on this square image opening, we're actually going to delete the layer mask. Okay, so when we're using the insert photo tool here inside Pixel Creator Pro, because of the sophistication that's built into the insert photo tool, we have lots of options. Now in this first example, we have an image layer that has a layer mask applied to it. So when we insert an image into that image opening, Pixel Creator says, well, he doesn't have a selection made, so we're going to use the existing layer, and because it has a layer mask, it's going to resize the image according to the size of my layer mask that is on that image. In my second example, we don't have a layer mask, and yet when we select our image and hit insert photo, Pixel Creator thinks to itself, well, there isn't a selection, there isn't a layer mask, so I'm just going to use the content of that layer to determine the size of my image. So in this case, our image has been inserted, but to the same size of the content of that layer. Now in the third example, we don't have a selection, we don't have a bitmap layer mask, we don't have really just content on a layer. What we actually have is a shape layer. So when I go to insert my image in this example, Pixel Creator looks for all the other examples first, and because it didn't find any of those, it assumes that we have a shape layer, and then inserts our image to the same size as our shape. Most of your other album design softwares require that your layer that you're inserting your image into have some type of parameter. Either it has a layer mask or it's a shape layer, but it doesn't offer you the option to have any configuration. And Pixel Creator Pro has that function where we don't have to have certain elements be in a certain way in order to populate a template with our images. So again, let's show you, like, for example, I'm going to draw out a rectangle. I'm going to come into my custom shape tool, and I'm going to choose Edge Flourishes Volume 1, and I'm going to add an edge effect to this image opening. So I'm going to hold down my Shift key, click and drag out a little design element here. You can see that. I've added to it. I have one shape layer now, and so when I come in here to add my image, that image is going to cascade across both pieces of my design element. I'm actually going to right click and flip it horizontally. As you can see, that image actually cascades. It fills in my rectangle, and it cascades over to fill in all my little floral elements as well. So very, very sophisticated, super simple to use that way. Now, there are some options to be aware of in the Insert Photo tool. So let's go ahead and make a selection using Add Aperture, and click on our Preferences function here. So in our preferences, we have some options. We have this resize factor, which is the first thing I want to talk to you about. It's by default set to 110%. And so when I insert an image into this image opening, you will see that when the image is inserted, we get these transformation handles. Now, in this case, this image opening is not the same ratio as the image itself. So what Pixel Creator Pro did, it made the determination to resize my image to the width of my image opening. But notice the transformation handles are slightly outside the image itself. And that's because we have a resize factor set to 110%. If I were to change that resize factor to 100 and hit apply, when I hit Insert Photo, this time the image would be inserted, and it would be inserted to the exact same width as the image opening itself. So now you can see it snaps right to the edge of the image opening. A matter of personal preference. Years ago when I first started with Pixel Creator Pro, I always got in the habit of having it slightly oversized. And so that is my personal preference, to have it slightly oversized. Now, the transformation step, if we didn't want by default to have those transformation handles appear after we inserted an image, we could untick that and hit apply, so that when I insert my image, it just inserts the image. It doesn't also give me that transformation step. See, no transformation handles, it just drops in my image dead center. Most of the time, however, you're going to want that transformation step. So I go ahead and leave that option selected. Another fun option is the Move Used Images option. And what that allows us to do, you can see here in this high school senior layout, we just have a bunch of images. If I insert my photo into an image opening, it'll go ahead and drop in my image, as you see. And when I go back into Adobe Bridge, I now have a Used Images folder. And it has that image that I used has now been moved to my Used Images folder. Now here's a fun thing. If I have that option chosen, and I go ahead and I have an image in place, and I hit Insert Photo again, Pixel Creator Pro is one crafty little program, because it knows that the image layer already had an image in place, and now it's being replaced by another image. So if I go back into Used Images, only the image that I actually have used is now inserted. The other image that I had used previously was put right back to where it came from. So in that sense, it's quite sophisticated, and it's not a function that I typically use, but certainly if you're doing album design, that's probably a function that you're going to want to take advantage of. On occasion, I will warn you this, however, when you use that Move Used Images options, on occasion, you'll have that checked and it won't move the image initially. But it only happens for some quirky Photoshop thing I never quite figured out. It only happens the very first time. When you first start that and insert an image, sometimes it doesn't move it into a Used Images folder. But if you were to insert an image again after you've ticked that, then it will go ahead and move that image into the Used Images folder, and then every image thereafter, as long as you don't turn that on and off, it's going to work perfectly from then on. It's just that initial time that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. There is one other option I want to cover in this video, and that is the scale check option. I kind of threw it in there because it was a request of a customer, and with that option checked, what it allows us to do is it allows us to have Pixel Creator Pro check the amount of resizing it does when it inserts your images into your layouts to see if it goes over a certain threshold. So with that option checked, if that's something you like to have, with that option checked, you can tell how much you want resizing to happen before Pixel Creator Pro warns you. So in this case, I'm allowing 20% resizing up before Pixel Creator Pro warns me. That's my comfort threshold. So a lot of times, if you're inserting an image into a background of a spread, it will have to, your images aren't typically going to fill up a whole 20-inch wide page. And so if Pixel Creator Pro has to scale an image by more than 20% to fill a given image opening, with that option checked, it would just say, hey, this image doesn't quite fit the criteria for the image opening. Are you sure you want to continue or not? Now, in case of background images, it's probably not that big a deal because they're going to have a lowered opacity, or you might blur them a little bit anyhow. So if it scales it up, more than 20%, probably not that big a deal. But if you're working with a lower res file and a large image opening, and it has to scale that image opening, that image to fit the image opening by more than 20%, it might be nice to know that. So that's what the scale check option allows. Not something I typically use, but the option's there. Now there's a bunch of other options there in preferences as it relates to insert photo, but I don't want to bore you with that right now. So just understand that that's kind of how it works. So we've looked at all the options with insert photo. We know we can simply make a selection, any type of selection, and drop our images right into those selections because a new image layer will be created for us on the fly. And we can also drop in image openings into existing openings that have vector layer masks, that have bitmap layer masks, that don't have layer masks at all. There is one other option I probably should talk about in preferences because it will probably get kind of annoying for you. Notice I have the insert all layers checked. That is not checked by default when you first install Pixel Creator Pro, and that's by design. And so basically what that does is, see here I have a shape layer. If I hit insert photo, because this layer is not specifically named image box, it asks me, are you really sure this is what you want to do? And if I choose yes, then it go ahead and converts that image into that shape layer into an image opening, and it'll allow me to go ahead and drop in my image into it. Once you get comfortable with working with Pixel Creator Pro, more often than not, you're going to want to have insert all layers chosen so that regardless of the type of layer that you have currently selected, it will automatically assume that you want to drop an image into that layer if you have it selected. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to the insert photo tool. Lots of options there to digest. Now we did talk about the little cousin here, which is also an insert photo tool, and basically the only difference with that particular function is I'm going to come in here and select an image, and when I hit this button, It will also insert an image, but the difference being here is when the image is inserted, it is not automatically resized to fit the image opening. So you can see how much larger this image is compared to the image opening itself, and that is because this image was scaled or inserted in its full resolution. There was no automated resizing being done. If we pull from a corner, the image will automatically scale proportionately. If we don't pull from a corner, then obviously the image will not scale proportionately. So for your purpose though, if you just pull from the corner, then your image will be scaled proportionately like you would want. So it certainly has its purpose. If I need to specify an exact crop to an image, I want to work with the full resolution file rather than something that's been scaled down that I might have to turn around and scale back up. Okay, so that's all the options for the Insert Photo tool. Watch this video a couple of times, understand all the various options that are available, and once you get it down, you're going to find that it's going to be very easy to create just about any type of layout you can imagine, being how that function gives you all the different options that are available here inside Photoshop.